Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. We start by learning the story of William and Marcus, immortal sons of Lord Alexander Corvinus. Marcus was bitten by a bat, and William was bitten by a wolf. A long time ago, a cruel battle began between the species, vampires, and the lichens. In the year 1202 AD, we see a battalion of vampire knights witnessing a massacre in a village carried out by a lichen. The leader Victor instructs Marcus to stay close to him while his soldiers burn the dead bodies. As they search the houses, the bitten villagers begin to transform into lichens, forcing Victor's soldiers to attack. A battle begins between the two races, resulting in many deaths on both sides. Victor orders Marcus to retreat to the forest while he and the others continue the attack. The vampire Amelia is called to help capture the one responsible for the massacre and the transformation of the villagers, the powerful lichen and werewolf known as William. Hearing the creature's cries, Marcus follows the sound and sees the lichen being captured. He shows displeasure at the way the creature is being captured, but Victor approaches and asks Marcus to understand how he does things and that William, who is Marcus's brother, is under his control. Forced to obey the leader's order, Marcus accepts his wish, which is to separate the brothers of different races. Centuries later, vampires and werewolves, also known as lichens, still exist in the world. These immortals have been at war for many centuries, and the vampires have successfully hunted the lichens, bringing them almost to extinction. The war had its first significant turn with the death of the lichen leader, Lucian. The vampires believe they have gained the upper hand, on the verge of eliminating the lichens from the world, or so they thought. Celine and another vampire are tracking two lichens heading for the subway. The lichen, Reyes, and his werewolf companion are also following Michael Corvinus, a human. When Michael boards the train, he sees Celine, but she looks away. Reyes approaches Michael but senses vampires nearby. Before he can reach Michael, he warns his companion that the vampires are following them. Reyes starts shooting, and a shootout ensues. The other vampire is hit, and Celine sees the bullets glowing inside him. A person is hit, and Michael jumps to help. A lichen tries to grab Michael, but Celine starts shooting. The lichens retreat, and Celine, along with another vampire, pursues them. Celine goes after one of the lichens while the other vampire chases Reyes. He is knocked down, and they end up on the train tracks. Eager to finish the fight, Reyes transforms into a werewolf and attacks the vampire. Celine follows the other lichen deeper into the tunnels before finally finding him and shooting him with silver bullets. Celine checks the lichen's weapon and sees that the bullets have UV light. Suddenly, Reyes appears behind her, but she escapes after impaling Reyes with several blade discs. While hiding from Reyes, she hears growls and roars in the tunnels. Sounds of other lichens fighting and twisting in an underground fighting arena fill the tunnels. Before she can investigate further, Reyes appears, and she leaves. In the fighting arena, a lichen who appears to be the leader shows up. He is visibly disappointed, even disgusted, with the behavior of his fellow lichens and stops the fight. Celine returns to the vampire mansion, goes straight to Khan, the vampire's weapons specialist, and shows him the glowing bullets. He discovers that the bullets are impregnated with ultraviolet radiation, making them highly effective against vampires. Craven, the current vampire leader, comes down to meet Celine and Khan. Celine tells Craven that she felt there could potentially be hundreds of lichens hiding in the tunnels. Craven listens but says they cannot act on mere speculation, especially on the eve of an important awakening ceremony. Khan does not believe it, saying that a number of this magnitude has not been seen for centuries. Craven tells Celine that he will investigate her claims, and Celine responds by saying that Victor would have believed her without hesitation. Celine visits Victor's tomb, and Erica, another vampire who is in love with Craven, tells Celine not to worry and reminds her to prepare for the ceremony. Celine later checks the footage captured from the scene and sees that the lichens were following a human. Erica enters, bringing a dress for Celine, but Celine is focused on the human. Craven arrives and tells Celine that he would love to have her by his side at the ceremony, but she denies him, telling him to have Erica in her place since she is the one who was infatuated with him. In the lichen's lair, a scientist named Singe mixes the blood of a human with that of a lichen. He examines it, discovering that the blood is incompatible. Their leader enters and sees that their experiment has failed, and Singe tells him that they need to get a sample of Michael's blood to see if it would work. Reyes arrives later, carrying the fallen werewolf. The leader is disappointed to hear that they failed to get a sample of Michael's blood and decides to do it himself. Celine breaks into Michael's apartment, looking for clues as to why the Lycans were after him. Michael arrives, and Celine grabs him, holding him by the neck. She asks why the Lycans are after him, but he denies any knowledge of what is happening. Michael recognizes Celine as the woman from the train shootout. Shortly after, Lycans appear. Michael runs to the elevator, and Celine loses sight of him. The Lycans break through the windows, and Celine starts shooting at them. The Lycans are less affected by silver bullets in their pure form, so Celine tries to escape through the floor. Michael goes down and encounters the Lycan leader. Celine shoots him, but he bites Michael. Celine drags Michael away, and the leader lets them go, having taken a blood sample from Michael and placed it in a test tube. The leader then uses his powers to expel the silver bullets from his body and pursues Celine. Celine and Michael drive away, but the leader catches up, jumping onto the top of the car. He uses a blade and pierces the roof, wounding Celine. Celine manages to make the leader fall off the roof and tries to run him over, but he rolls over the car and lands safely behind them. Michael and Celine escape, and Michael sees that Celine is bleeding heavily. He asks her to stop the car, but she doesn't listen and keeps driving. She loses consciousness, and the car flips and falls into a river. Michael drags Celine to safety and tries to tend to her wounds. In the Lycan's lair, Singe mixes Michael's blood. They confirm that Michael's blood is what they were looking for. They need Michael for an experiment they will conduct on the Lycan leader. On the riverbank, Michael and Celine are unconscious. Michael has a strange dream before waking up and realizing he is in the vampire mansion. Erica sees Michael and is delighted to see that Celine brought a human to the house. She tells Celine that Craven is looking for her. Celine meets with an angry Craven. He reprimands Celine for blatantly disobeying his orders and for bringing a human to the mansion. Celine maintains her theory that the Lycans are interested in Michael, and she needs to find out why. Craven finds her theory ridiculous, saying that the Lycans would only be interested in humans as food. Erica looks more closely at Michael and sees the bite mark. She immediately recoils, launching herself to the ceiling. Michael wakes up again, completely shocked, seeing Erica on the ceiling. He runs to the window and jumps out. He runs to the gate and escapes the property. Craven enters with Celine, and seeing that Michael has escaped, he angrily slaps Celine. Celine is at the house's shooting range when Khan approaches, handing her a gun. She shoots and sees liquid oozing through the bullet holes. This is Khan's latest invention, silver nitrate bullets. Once a Lycan is hit, the silver injects into their blood, making it harder to remove. Celine expresses her doubt about Craven's stories. The vampires were told that Craven killed Lucian, but Celine is suspicious, saying the only evidence they have is Craven's account. Craven then leaves and meets someone in an alley. He gets into another car, and it is revealed that he is meeting with the Lycan leader. Craven is furious with the Lycans for overstepping their bounds, but the leader tells Craven that they have waited long enough. Craven then reveals that the Lycan leader is Lucian, the Lycan Craven claimed to have killed. Celine breaks into the mansion's library and reads about the past. She reads about the Great War between vampires and werewolves and Lucian's defeat. It turns out that Craven was the only survivor of a group of vampires sent to assassinate Lucian. Craven returned with a piece of Lucian's skin as evidence of the assassination. Celine then sees a drawing of Lucian wearing a necklace, the same necklace she saw on the werewolf that bit Michael. She then realizes that the werewolf must have been Lucian. She then finds Erica, and she tells her that Michael was bitten and will soon become a Lycan. Desperate for guidance, Celine decides to awaken Victor, one of the 3 powerful vampire elders. She enters Victor's tomb and begins the awakening ceremony alone. Celine uses her blood and lets it flow into Victor's mouth. She apologizes to Victor for waking him early, but she desperately needs his guidance, as she suspects that Craven lied about killing Lucian. Michael appears at the mansion gates, and Celine goes to fetch him. Craven warns her that she will no longer be welcome at the mansion if she leaves to find Michael, but Celine ignores Craven's threat, knowing that Victor is now awake and will vouch for her. She drives to Michael, and they depart. Celine tells Michael that he has been dragged into a centuries-long war between vampires and werewolves. She tells him that he has been bitten and will soon become a Lycan. Craven enters the tomb, and Erica tells him about Michael being a Lycan. Victor then reveals himself, and Erica and Craven bow. Victor expresses his disappointment with Craven's command. He then orders Marcus, another elder vampire, to be awakened. Craven informs him that Marcus has not yet been awakened, and Amelia, a 3rd elder vampire, is on her way to begin the ceremony. Celine had revived Victor an entire century earlier than planned. Celine takes Michael to one of their secret interrogation rooms, and she tells him about her origins. Celine was a young girl when the Lycans came and killed her entire family. It was Victor who saved her and turned her into a vampire. She now spends her life killing the monsters that killed her family, treating Victor as a father. Celine intends to return to the mansion, but Michael wants to join her. So she handcuffs Michael to a chair and tells him there will be a full moon the next night. He will be unable to control himself and will end up eating and killing everything he finds. She then hands him a gun with a single silver bullet. The bullet will not kill him but can delay his transformation. She then advises him to shoot himself. Celine returns to the mansion and finally confronts Victor. He demands to know why she woke him up early, saying that the elders have never broken their chain of command in over 14 centuries. 2 of the elder vampires must be resting while one reigns. Supposedly, it was Marcus's turn to reign, not Victor's. Celine tells Victor that she had no choice, and she believes that the vampires are in danger. Victor is suspicious of Celine, knowing that she is protecting the Lycan, Michael. She tells him that she will gather evidence, but Victor prefers Craven to do it, arguing that Craven is not protecting a Lycan. Victor then tells Celine that the council will judge her for breaking the chain of command. Craven then imprisons Celine in the mansion, preventing her from going to Michael. Craven then tells Khan that a different group of vampires is in charge of meeting Amelia. Khan is suspicious, as it has always been his group's task to do so. At the station, Amelia's train arrives, but the Lycans ambush them. Amelia's group fights them, but the vampires sent to meet them only watch the massacre. Michael tries to free himself from the handcuffs, using the silver bullet to break the chain, but he misses. He feels the effects of the full moon, and his heart rate and breathing accelerate. Jealous of Craven's desire for Celine, Erica decides to free Celine, allowing her to go to Michael. Erica hopes this will lead to Celine's downfall, and she informs Craven that Celine has escaped. The Lycans waiting outside the mansion see Celine leave and follow her to Michael. As Celine approaches Michael, she sees Lycans following her. She reaches Michael, but the Lycans are at the door. She starts shooting blindly at the door while Michael escapes. He jumps out the window and surprisingly lands on his feet. Celine contains the attacking Lycans, but in the streets, the Lycans overpower and capture Michael, taking him in a police car and leaving. Celine sees the men leaving with Michael and decides to let them go for now. She then spots Singe alive among the pile of dead Lycans. At the mansion, Khan is convinced that Craven is up to something nefarious and orders his men to check on Amelia. At the train station, the Lycans kill Amelia, and Reyes takes her blood. Meanwhile, the men who took Michael realize he is starting to transform. They stop and inject him with a substance, stopping his transformation. Once his transformation is halted, they continue. Craven meets with Victor, now fully formed, as Celine arrives with Singe. Celine forces Singe to tell the truth, and he does. He confesses that the Lycans were looking for a direct descendant of Alexander Corvinus. He begins by telling the origin of vampires and werewolves. Alexander Corvinus, a powerful warlord of the 5th century, rose to power, but a deadly plague devastated his village, and only he survived. Alexander's body had mutated the virus, and instead of killing him, it gave him supernatural abilities. He became the first immortal and fathered 3 sons. Victor interrupts, saying that everyone knows the myth of the Corvinus clan. A child was bitten by a wolf, another by a bat, and a third followed the solitary path of mortality as a human. Victor says that Marcus, whose tomb is right next to them, is a direct descendant of Alexander, but Singe says that Marcus is already a vampire. They needed to find the human descendant of Alexander, one who carried the virus but was neither vampire nor werewolf. They planned to fuse Lycan blood with vampire blood, but they never succeeded. But when they found Michael, they discovered that his blood would be the key. With his genetic makeup, they could merge vampire DNA with werewolf DNA, creating a hybrid creature that was half vampire, half werewolf, and stronger than both. They planned to have Lucian inject himself with Michael's blood, along with the blood of an elder vampire, Amelia. Victor is finally convinced that Lucian is alive and Celine has been right all along. Khan then enters the tomb and announces that Amelia has been killed and the Lycans drained her blood. Victor strikes Singe, and he dies instantly. Victor then charges Celine with finding and eliminating Michael. Lucian draws blood from Michael in the Lycan lair to inject into himself, and Michael begs him to let him go, as he has nothing to do with their war. Lucian laughs, saying this is not his war. Michael then has a vision of the past and sees Lucian chained before a vampire woman who is also tied up. Sunlight fills the room, and Lucian watches as his beloved Sonia burns to death. Victor then enters the room and retrieves Sonia's necklace, but the full moon rises, and Lucian transforms into a werewolf. Lucian breaks free, grabbing the necklace and escaping. Lucian then tells his version of the story. The Lycans were slaves to the vampires, forced to guard their tombs in daylight. He fell in love with Sonia, Victor's daughter. Victor was enraged by their union and planned to kill them both, but Lucian escaped. Lucian then says that Victor started the war, spending centuries hunting the Lycans. Craven arrives, and Lucian goes to meet him. Craven is panicked, seeing his plans falling apart, but Lucian reassures him, saying that with Amelia dead in Michael's blood, their peace treaty will soon come into effect, leaving Craven to lead the vampires. Craven tells Lucian that Victor has awakened and they cannot defeat him, but Lucian is confident that Michael's blood will give him the power to defeat Victor. The vampires suddenly appear in the lair, and the Lycans prepare for battle. Craven realizes he is about to lose and shoots Lucian multiple times with silver nitrate bullets. Lucian falls, unable to fight the silver nitrate coursing through his veins. Celine and Khan lead the vampire attack and easily dispatch the defending Lycans. Reyes arrives carrying Amelia's blood but finds it too late, seeing Lucian dying. The shooting continues, and Lucian tries to force the silver out of himself, determined to live. Celine then runs to find Michael and kills 2 Lycans along the way. Craven tries to escape by climbing a ladder but sees Victor arriving. He jumps down and tries to hide. Celine finally finds Michael, and Lucian sees them kissing. He realizes that the war will never be resolved as long as another Lycan falls in love with a vampire. Celine and Michael try to escape but encounter Craven. Craven then shoots Michael with silver nitrate bullets, and the silver begins to flood his blood. Craven then tells Celine that it was Victor, not the Lycans, who killed her family. Victor fed on them and only spared Celine because she reminded him of Sonia. Lucian appears and stabs Craven's leg, disabling him. Lucian sees the love between Celine and Michael and tells Celine to bite Michael. His stronger blood would survive a transmission from both vampire and werewolf, and he would rise stronger. Celine then sinks her fangs into Michael's shoulder. Craven recovers, and Lucian laughs at him. He is satisfied because his mission is complete in the form of Michael. Craven then shoots several more bullets into Lucian, rendering him lifeless. Victor arrives and pulls Celine off Michael. Victor then grabs Michael and throws him through a wall. Celine tells Victor that she knows the truth about her family. Victor admits it but argues that he gave her much more in return. Now filled with vampire and werewolf blood, Michael begins to transform into a horrific mix of the two. Victor prepares to fight Michael, but Michael is faster and stronger. A fight ensues between vampire and hybrid. The two exchange blows, but Victor still manages to gain the upper hand despite Michael's advantage. The rest of the vampires assist Victor and shoot at Michael, but Celine arrives and quickly uses her skills to neutralize them, killing them. Victor and Michael continue fighting, and Celine grabs Victor's sword and slashes Victor across the face. Victor's head is sliced in half, and he falls. Celine and Michael now need to leave and remain hidden, knowing that werewolves and vampires may agree to a truce just to hunt them down. Back at the vampire mansion, Sinja's blood drips into Marcus's tomb. The blood makes its way to his mouth, starting Marcus's heart and waking him up. Celine and Michael find shelter in the forest and enter the place, soon discovering it is a laboratory for experiments with Lycan test subjects. Celine takes some equipment and tells Michael that she will go alone. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Craven and his soldiers go to the sanctuary where the elders were kept but find a body at the site, where the blood has already flowed into the capsule. He orders the capsule of one of the elders to be opened, but when it is opened, they discover that it was broken from the inside. Suddenly something starts to come out of the ground, and it soon reveals itself to be the powerful vampire Marcus, who kills all the men there with his deadly wings, leaving only Craven alive. He confronts him, knowing that Craven is a disloyal vampire, and bites him to learn more about the events up to the present moment. Knowing everything, he kills him by ripping his head off. Back at the laboratory hideout, Michael thanks Celine once again for saving him but asks her to come back to him. On a ship, the shelter of the immortal Alexander Corvinus, he receives his soldiers, and they show him footage of what happened days ago, where the elder Victor was killed, and Marcus destroyed the vampire mansion. Corvinus goes to the bodies brought to him, searching for something but ends up finding nothing. However, examining Victor's body, he finds what he was looking for, which appears to be part of a medallion. Marcus looks at the footage and observes that one of the base sensors is active, the same laboratory where Michael is. At this moment, Michael chooses not to drink stored blood to feed himself and goes to a small town. He goes to a bar to drink a little, and after some time eating human food, he is not satisfied. Meanwhile, in the forest, Celine observes Marcus flying over her, so she decides to return. At the bar, Michael starts to feel sick, and the police officers who were watching the news notice that he is a fugitive, so they soon confront him. People start running away, and one officer calls for backup, which is picked up by Corvinus' soldiers. Celine returns to the laboratory and sees that Michael has not fed. Back at the bar, an irritated Michael initiates an attack on the other officer, but seeing his reflection in the mirror, he releases the man and flees the place, being pursued by other officers. Celine hears the shots and decides to risk going after Michael, even though the sun is about to rise on the horizon. While the police shoot at the hybrid, Celine takes action and confronts the men, being very fast, dodging the shots, and knocking out the officers. After the fight, she goes to Michael and seeing that he is very weak, offers him some of her blood, the only thing that will make him strong at that moment. Just before they leave, Marcus, the vampire turned into a monster, arrives at the scene. He attacks Celine, but Michael shoots Marcus multiple times, and they manage to run away. On the road, Michael stops a truck and transforms into the creature he has become, then forces the driver out. While driving, Celine watches Marcus confronting Michael in the truck bed. Both are strong, but Marcus manages to take the necklace that Michael has, similar to a medallion, and pushes him off the truck, but he grabs onto the chains. Celine prevents Marcus from leaving by shooting at him, but he takes flight and crashes into the truck. Trying to get in to bite Celine, she steers the truck against the mountainside, trying to crush the vampire, but he just falls on the road. Marcus gets up and starts to regenerate, but fortunately, Celine and Michael have escaped. Unfortunately, the sun rises and starts to burn Celine, so Michael takes the wheel and heads to an abandoned warehouse. Michael gets out of the truck and blocks all the entrances, preventing sunlight from entering. After that, he takes her and brings her inside a container. Celine shows Michael that she can regenerate her wounds, which relieves him. Showing care for her, they get close and kiss. Moments later, they become intimate and end up having a romantic and loving day. A team of police officers finds the laboratory, but Corvinus' team arrives and removes them from the scene. They then enter the place, take what they need, and blow up the site to leave no traces. Celine wakes up and finds Michael fixing a car. She observes the medallion and has a memory of when she was a little girl, holding the same medallion. She then tells who can tell them more about the medallion and why Marcus wanted it for himself. At nightfall, they both drive in search of a vampire named Andreas Tanis, who is exiled for documenting the truth about Victor. Fortunately, Celine knows where to find him. They go to a place resembling a monastery, where Tanis is imprisoned. However, the situation is different, with Tanis enjoying himself with his vampire women. He hears gunshots and sees the intruders on the security cameras. He waits for Celine to approach the entrance gate and activates a trap, causing her to fall into an underground compartment, while Michael is confronted by the guard dog, a werewolf. Michael quickly transforms and fights the creature. Meanwhile, Celine is surprised by two werewolves but manages to kill them with her knife. Outside, Michael also kills his opponent, ripping off the jaw. Celine goes deeper into the underground labyrinth and finds an entrance to the place. Michael also enters the labyrinth and follows Celine's steps. The vampire knocks out Tanis' companions with ease, and when he tries to scare her with his weapon, Michael appears and stops him, then terrorizes him with his appearance. In a friendly conversation, Celine asks what he knows about Marcus's desires and why he wanted the medallion. Tanis begins to explain that the first vampire was not Victor as many believed, but Marcus. Victor was the human sovereign with absolute rule, but at the end of his life, Marcus approached him and offered immortality in exchange for his help in defeating the Lycan race, humans bitten by William who could not transform back into human form. As a consequence, they caused terror and massacres everywhere. After a while, with his army of vampires, Victor found and defeated the unevolved Lycans, and William, the first Lycan, was destined to be imprisoned by Victor. The truth is told that, for Victor, killing the original Lycan leader would mean the death of all other werewolves, whom he had as his slaves. In a book, Tanis tells about the loyal men of Corvinus, the immortal known as the father of them all. The book also shows William's prison, a kind of metal coffin, which was kept in a place where Celine's family participated in the construction but were unfortunately killed. Tanis tells Celine that she is the only one alive who witnessed the prison's location, and Marcus knows this, which is why he wants to capture her, as her blood holds memories of the past. They ask for more information, but Tanis offers them a meeting with another person who can provide more valuable information. After the couple leaves, Tanis senses the presence of someone powerful, and when he tries to hide, Marcus, now in his human form again, confronts him. With no way out, Tanis is forced to sit with him at the table and tell what he knows about the keys. Wanting to avoid the answer, Marcus forces him to speak by stabbing his deadly wings into his body. Tanis then decides to tell, but the vampire bites his neck and sucks the information he sought, then kills him. The couple goes to Dock 16 to meet a man known as Lorenzo. However, they soon discover that this man is the immortal Corvinus. Celine asks why he remained hidden all these centuries, and he responds that he chose to hide and try to fix the mess and the evil that his sons of both species were causing to the world. Celine states that he could have simply ended all the evil, recognizing that his sons were monsters, but that would mean killing his sons, and for that reason, he did not choose that fate. Suddenly, Marcus arrives at the location and kills the guards, then attacks Michael and pulls him outside. Michael tries to fight him, but the powerful Marcus impales him on a wooden beam, taking his medallion and leaving him for dead. Celine arrives at the scene and shoots at her enemy, but he manages to dodge and overpower her with his wings. Piercing her arms and drinking her blood, he accesses her past and discovers the location of his brother's prison. Celine manages to grab a gun and shoots the creature in the mouth, causing it to release her and leave. Celine goes to Michael, who appears to be dead, and tries to help him. She drips blood into his chest wound, but the action has no effect, leaving her extremely sad over the loss. Meanwhile, Corvinus is in his office when he hears the massacre his son is causing. Marcus soon enters and confronts his father about the years he spent not caring about his children's lives. Marcus no longer considers him a father and demands the other key to his brother's prison, even though his father says that the primordial Lycan cannot be controlled. Marcus says he is stronger now and aims to be the new god of the vampire and Lycan races. He takes out his deadly wings and wounds Corvinus' shoulder, then stabs the old immortal in the chest with a sword and takes the second part of the key. When Corvinus' soldiers arrive, they see their lord about to die, but he refuses their help to save him and instead asks them to bring Celine to him. The vampire goes to Alexander Corvinus and confronts him about being the most powerful among them and still not having the courage to kill his son. Corvinus acknowledges this but accepted not to do it. However, he proposes another solution. He offers his blood, the blood of a primordial immortal, as the only way to defeat Marcus. Celine fears what she might become, but Corvinus reassures her, saying that she will be the future of her species. Without wasting time, she drinks the immortal's blood, and fortunately, her body does not react negatively. She, along with Corvinus' last team, heads to the prison location, and with them is Michael's body because Celine asked them to bring him. Knowing that he was immortal and it was only a matter of time before he fully recovered, Corvinus decides to end his life and activates all the grenades around him, blowing himself up along with his entire shelter. Meanwhile, Marcus arrives at the prison, where part of it is flooded. He finds the entrance and, combining the medallions, opens the first door, and finally, Marcus finds his brother's prison. The soldiers along with Celine arrive at the place, an ancient castle in ruins atop a mountain. Celine guides the group, and they all dive into the water to access the submerged entrance. Marcus achieves what he has longed for and opens the coffin that held his brother imprisoned. William, the primordial Lycan, attacks Marcus but soon recognizes him as his brother and does not attack. Celine's group emerges from the water and reaches the large chamber of the castle. The vampire continues searching for Marcus to stop him, but when they reach William's prison, they notice he is already free. The group hears gunshots, and when they approach where the others were, they confront the primordial Lycan. Marcus surprises Celine, but she shows that her strength is much greater than in the last fight. She fires all the bullets from her shotgun, pushing Marcus back into the prison. When the bullets run out, she closes the entrance, where a large rock descends as a barrier. Furious, Marcus transforms into the hybrid monster. Meanwhile, inside the helicopter, Michael managed to regenerate his body and woke up from his slumber. Celine goes to the soldiers to support them in trying to defeat the Lycan. As they cross a small suspension bridge inside the castle, the Lycan attacks the soldiers' leader, biting him. While he grabs another, Celine shoots at him, trying to weaken him, but the bullets do nothing more than irritate him. She throws circular and explosive blades at him, but he dodges them, and the bombs explode, creating a passage through the ceiling. After the destruction, Celine looks for the creature when she observes that the bitten soldiers are transforming. She quickly kills one of them, but the others begin to rise and surround her from all sides. The soldiers in the helicopter try to help, but Celine is in their line of fire, so they don't shoot. However, Michael, who has come back to life, stands up and jumps into the castle. He grabs one of the werewolves and destroys its heart. Celine kills the other and is surprised to see Michael alive. Before the two can embrace, William appears and attacks Michael. Celine shoots at the creature, and meanwhile, Marcus manages to lift the rock from the prison entrance. He heads to the chamber and, seeing his brother being bombarded with bullets, pulls the helicopter by the rope, making it fall into the area, suspended with the engine running. Marcus surprises Celine and tries to throw her into the helicopter blades, but the vampire, having gained strength from Corvinus's immortal blood, fights equally with the monster Marcus. Michael fights William, and being a stronger hybrid, gains the upper hand over William and splits his head, finally killing him. Celine fights Marcus and cuts off his hand with the helicopter blades, but he uses his wings to impale Celine's chest. However, she uses her strength and breaks Marcus's wing, stabbing it into his head and then throwing him into the helicopter blades, cutting and slicing the vampire to death. After defeating the enemy, the next morning arrives, and Celine finally reunites with Michael. She is surprised to discover that she can now walk in sunlight, thanks to the power that the immortal Corvinus gave her.